Welcome to What the Flick, everyone. Our conversation about Mad Men, Episode 3, Field Trip with the worst mother in the history of television. No, I'm sorry, that's Cersei from Game of Thrones. The second worst mother, Betty Draper. Alonzo, what did this mean? Ben Mankiewicz, Alonzo Duralde. What's our theme this episode?
Well, I think there's two key lines of dialogue. One is Betty at the end saying, "Why don't they love me?"
Yeah, well,
because I think Don,
I have a list.
Yes,
yeah.
Well, for her case, we know why. But I think Don's got that same feeling when he goes back to SCP, only to find that no one is expecting him.
But assuming that my reaction was like others, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I think I have a good sense of knowing when I'm on my own and when I stand with America.
Okay.
I think I stand with America that when Peggy says, what did she say? It's not like we missed you.
Yeah.
Something, and he goes, thanks, Peggy. And Don's sort of sticking it out that whole day and refusal to leave with his tail tucked between his legs. I think we feel great sympathy for Don.
Sure.
And for Betty, I mean, all you want is Henry to recite the things of why she's a terrible mother. I want her to lose custody of her kids. I mean, she did, and she acknowledges. She says it started out as such a wonderful day. It did, because you showed some genuine maternal instincts and
Yes.
did some actual mothering. And then because this poor kid did a total little boy move, you humiliate him.
Well, that and the notion of why don't they love me? It's like he was totally thrilled that you were there and doting on you and hanging on your every word, and then you were horrible to him, and that's why he's now upset. But he adores you.
Right,
How do you not see that?
You have to do, I mean, as some people know, I'm a new parent, and it really is just about, it's not so much about what you do, it's really about what you don't do.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you think going to the field trip, but just be around.
Presence, yeah.
Right, be present and don't screw it up and don't make them feel guilty when they do something wrong. And you could have said, hey, that was my freaking sandwich. Don't give my sandwich away. Now what am I supposed to eat? And then you're done with it. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry.
And then you drop it.
And then you drop it.
And it's not like she's the hardiest eater on earth anyway.
Totally. It was like she gave him the silence. It was like they were dating. It was hideous what she did to him.
It was agonizing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other key line of dialogue is when Bobby later says, I wish it was yesterday. Just because, I mean, not just for him, but I think that's that's a running thing for this whole thing. Don obviously wants things to be like the way they were before with Megan, with the agency, with everything else. You get the sense of a lot of people that the world is moving faster than they're ready to handle, and they want it to be simpler. They want it to be the thing they can grasp and put their hands on,
From a narrative point of view, let's talk about Don's decision. I read in Slate with essentially the headline of why on earth would Don go back? He's got this other, what's probably a pretty good offer,
right?
Complete with a hooker, perhaps, to go work across the street. But he doesn't take it. He wants to go back, and he puts up with that humiliation at work, sits with those guys, and then just has Robert Morse give him a list of conditions
rules,
that gut him, that gut his creativity, and he has to answer to Lou.
That's the appalling part. Okay, not drinking in the office except with clients. Okay, fine.
Blaine's office. Don doesn't care about that stuff.
But answer to Lou? Come on. I mean, that guy is such a non-entity.
He's wearing a sweater to work. It's 1969 on Madison Avenue. Get a fucking blazer.
So that was painful.
So why does he do it narratively? What is that thinking?
I think part of it is that that's the house he built, he is one of the architects of this agency, and I feel like he can't easily walk away from it. I think he at least wanted to give them the right of first refusal, before he took the plunge and went to somewhere else. Because, Sterling did find him at the bottom of a box of fur, and I guess to some extent he has a certain amount of loyalty and a certain amount of pride in being one of the responsible parties for getting this thing together.
I think there has to be some greater psychological reason, though. The way he's holding on with Megan, it's like he's saying, he was honest with his daughter, and he's like, I'm not screwing up anymore. I am going to fix and stick with things as they were. Even though the marriage to Megan, every viewer thinks, at least I thought, again, just go home, take it, be done with her, right? I mean, And I'm even sympathetic to him in this case. Like, I'm sympathetic to both of them.
I was going to say, they both have a case here.
They both have a case. It's totally acceptable. They don't belong together.
It's a bad intersection of her daddy issues and him being controlling and
it's a bad mix. And if she were willing to stay in the sort of subservient role to him, of which there are a gazillion women who would, bravo. But she isn't. So go forward,
Move
young lady.
on.
Right. So I was relieved and then interested that he's trying to hold on to that, and that clearly has to. Whatever's causing him to hold on to Megan is the same thing that had him go back and make sure he stayed at the agency.
I think that's part of it, but I think also it lessens the shame of his failure if he stays at SC&P, because then it retroactively makes it less of a big deal, because obviously he still had a job there.
Yeah.
It was something he could return from. It wasn't this thing that then drove him out to somewhere else, that the legendary Don Draper had to go skulk off to some other agency because he fucked up so bad in that Hershey presentation.
Totally. I mean, yes, there's practical reasons for it too, but I think the psychology for him wins. But I agree, definitely.
And I'm sure that all ties into the Dick Whitman psychosis, of
stop
just
running.
Exactly.
Right. Stop running. And so then, did you know what his reaction was going to be? Because you could tell by the time. So as you're watching the show and they hand him the conditions and it's a tight shot on him, it's either he's going to go, fuck you, or he's going to say, okay.
I suspected he was going to say okay,
so
because I just figured there's more drama there.
No, I gave it okay before he said it. I got the nice fist bump from my wife. It was good, but I was like, yeah, he's right. There is more drama, of course. That's part of it, of him leaving, because we don't even really know these people.
Sure. I did have to look up the movie he was seeing at the beginning.
So did I. I've already forgotten it.
Jacques Demy's Model Shop.
Model Shop, that's right.
Which is about a man in a failing relationship with an actress.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So,
I don't know if that's the only point they were trying to make there, but that is
one of them. And he was super uncomfortable watching that. So I thought we saw some real greatness from the kind of actor that John Slattery is and the kind of character that Roger is, because within seconds, within 2 scenes, he's everything that Roger is. Giving the job back to Don without checking with anyone, without calling.
Or telling anyone that he's done
the irresponsible thing, then he kind of forgets and he gets drunk at lunch. He shows up at 1:45 or whatever the hell time it is. And then, even though he's drunk, right, he pulled it together and he sold it to him. Like, he got it done. Like, right after screwing it up, you're with him in that meeting, and he's like, he comes to that meeting outnumbered 3-1.
Right.
And ends with a unanimous, he's the Earl Warren of that boardroom. I mean, he made that happen, and it was really impressive.
Well, fucking Cutler, he just has this, I don't know what his deal is with Don exactly. I mean, I don't know why he's so resentful about the Ted stuff, and he's
just his friend. He was defending his friend.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems to me like he needs to look at the larger picture, which I guess eventually is what Roger convinces him to do. But
although it's a little weak that they didn't occur to him about the buyout and the buyout of the ownership, that only dawns on them at that point.
That's going to cost some money there.
Yeah, it's going to cost them money. But I guess maybe they thought they'd be doing better, and that was the kind of thing they could
weather.
They could afford. But I was just really impressed. I mean, first of all, turning Bert Cooper around is not the hardest thing in the world. The last guy to talk to Bert Cooper turns Bert Cooper around. But getting Harry Hamlin and Christina Hendricks was it was impressive.
Yeah. Oh, and Harry Crane returns.
Yeah, Harry Crane returns.
And for once, is right.
Is totally right. Yeah. You know what? I'm done with this conversation. Goodbye. And it works.
Yes.
It works, yeah.
Because it's everything that Harry Hamlin brings up is stupid, and then going to the Wall Street Journal without asking him first, also stupid.
Incredibly stupid. So that was really good. And then I loved also that Harry Hamlin makes the case to John Slattery. He's like, we need to talk about Harry Crane, right?
Yeah.
We talk about Harry Crane. And Slattery's like, he's gone, like whatever. Like, he's worried on Don. He's like, I don't care, whatever you want. And it's not even what he wanted.
No,
he's just skipping right to the power past that. Yeah.
And I love the really subtle body language that Christina Hendricks is giving us, as far as like upstairs Joan. When she comes breezing in with eye patch,
Ken Cosgrove.
with Ken Cosgrove, there is something about the way she holds herself and the way she enters that room that is not the office manager, HR Joan, but it is accounts Joan. I can't even quite put my finger on it, but I could feel it. I could feel Don feel it. You know?
I think it's and that's certainly a testament to her ability. Like, she got that. And
does Dawn not get that Dawn has a lot more shit on her plate now, that she can't just drop everything and come to his apartment with?
I think he figured it out as he walked in. I think he's like, but until he walked in, he looked and saw where she is.
Oh, of course.
Like,
right.
He thought at that, and he saw that, and he was like, that's Joan's office.
So he thought she was still just working Lou's desk.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dawn is sort of too classy to tell him.
Remind him, yes, what's going on.
But and a lot of good secretary stuff, because then when Shirley came in to sort of subtly, hey, yeah, we're going, they're pushing people away. Hello, hi. I mean, I love, the other ad agency show that many of us enjoyed in the 80s, 30-something.
Oh, right.
Where I could do sort of without everything that happened at those
outside
people's
of the
house. But I love Miles Trentel, and I loved the agency. I loved the workplace stuff. And this was a great workplace show.
I also just love the way all the stuff with Don in this episode was staged in terms of him being in the office. Because there is that weird thing of, oh wow, you've been gone for 6 months. Are you back? Do we tell you? Are you still involved? There's that kind of awkward thing. It's almost like the guy who's graduated from high school who comes back to visit, and everybody's like, what do we do with you? We've moved on, you know. So there was kind of an interesting.
It was, and for Don, and I think I would have left. Like, I would have had too much shame to stay. My wife said that she would have stayed. That and she has had a much more significant corporate life than I've had, and then she's like, no, you can't leave. Like, you had that meeting, you have to make them deal with it.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think that takes balls.
Yeah, I think I could see myself, I could see faking a phone call that would get you out of there. Something.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
My building's on fire. Gotta run. So sorry.
Yeah, but he was like, nope, I'm going to sit here and eat, and when Dawn's like chicken salad, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm eating this sandwich, and I guess I'll need some more coffee.
This is where we are.
But Peggy, I mean, I guess there's meanness in this world. That was some, but I wonder how people like Peggy will view a marginalized Dawn, because Peggy, she would never have had the courage. She's told him off, but when she tells him off, it's always like that moment where, you're like when you tell off somebody powerful and you get away with it, and then you walk down the hall and you're like, I did it, I got it. This time, she yelled at somebody who was weaker than she,
right?
And it was cruel.
Yeah, and I think for her, it's going to be hard to watch a diminished Don Draper because he is such a mentor to her, even though she's currently furious at him for any number of reasons.
But she's furious at Ted now too, and most of the reason she was furious at him was because of Ted.
There you go. But I think that that's just going to be a thing where at some point it's going to hurt to look at, to see this sort of once mighty pillar of the industry kind of
right,
forced into a corner of mediocrity in a way.
Except Lou has no chance. He will roll over Lou.
Clearly, yes. But also it's almost like he's being set up to fail. He's being put into this sort of impossible corner so that they can then get rid of him and not have to pay him his partnership thing.
Until the moment comes when he has what they need. It'll be whether, Chevy or Ford, if they lose Chevy or something that they need, and he'll be like, I get my office back and the end of these restrictions, right? And they'll, of course, in that moment, because these guys cannot look 10 minutes into the future.
No,
right?
That's true.
Every client matters, everything.
But and earlier in the show, I would say yes, absolutely, that's what's in the running. But again, it's 1969. Like, I think we may be seeing the end of the Don Draper era, and so it's going to be a question of, does he go out in a big blaze of disaster, or is it the 1,000 paper cuts, where this is just the beginning of the sort of the humiliations and the downgrading and the. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It could go either way.
It could go either way, but I sense that we have built towards some sort of. Don has learned. He is adapting, and he's becoming the person that he actually is. So somehow I think he'll manage. I don't know how the hell the show ends. I don't know who dies in a drug. Well, we all know who dies in a drug overdose. Thank you, Roger.
I think it ends with him writing a novel. I don't know. I have no clue. But as several people have pointed out, I want the Sally in the '70s spinoff.
Oh, totally.
That is a show I want to see.
Am I allowed to talk about how beautiful Sally is? Is she old enough? The actress?
It might be a little dicey.
All right, well, then she's not. She's a lovely, young, talented woman. I'm sure she'll be a fine actress.
She already is, I think.
She already is. No, man, everybody. And like, what's great to me, we're out of
And
time.
the current Bobby is good, too.
Is that a new Bobby?
I think it's one in a series, yeah.
Is that right?
I'm not sure if he's the same Bobby we saw last time, but he's definitely not the original Bobby.
Well, that seems fair that he's not the original. That undercuts my point a little, but he looks super familiar to me, so I think he's at least last year's Bobby.
Maybe.
And that's been a while, but when you cast somebody young, it's like...
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble, and it looks like in this case it may have paid off. Now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just the way they dressed him and did his hair sent that subliminal message to me that that's Bobby.
But I think with Kieran Shipka, they really, who plays out, they really lucked out, and she's
probably
delivers.
not luck. They probably but she's good.
Yeah.
And you know who else is great? Gene. That's the other kid.
Oh God.
Gene is great.
He slept really well.
Oh my God, he fucking nailed it. All right, everybody. A good episode, right?
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. All right, next week. Thanks, everybody.